Hi everyone, my name is Lisa LaRue, and it's really delightful to have you here today with our first SVRI Faith and GBV Community of Practice networking event. Long name. Um, Thank you to the presenters who offered to present today and share a bit more about their organizations. Thank you for everyone who's joining today to just learn more about these organizations and be part of the exchange and chat at the end. I want to remind all of you, we're recording these sessions. We'll be recording all of the networking events. It's going to be put on SVRI's YouTube channel and then that video shared with everyone in the COPs so that those who can't attend an event or one of more of the events can still watch it in their own time and learn more about the different organizations and possible collaboration opportunities. So please take note of that. Um, Sorry, people, I'm just also watching to see if anyone's in the waiting room and clicking for them to join. Um, so we have 4 speakers today. It would have been 6, but one canceled at the last minute and one is not appearing in the waiting room. So it means that they have slightly more time to share about their organizations. It also means that we have a bit more time to chat at the end. So I'm going to introduce all of them briefly just now, but I want to ask everyone in the room if you can keep yourself muted for the presentation part of today, just for everyone's sake that we can more easily follow. If you've got great bandwidth, it would be lovely if you can switch on your video for the presenters that they don't feel like they're staring and speaking into the void. But otherwise, it's fine if you switch your camera off. Um, I'm warning the presenters when they have 1 minute left. I'm going to tell them 1 minute left. I'm going to unmute myself and just say 1 minute left. And when their time is up, I'm just going to say your time is up. So I don't know if any of you have ever done speed dating. I've only seen it in movies, but if your time's up, you have to move to the next person. And that's what we're doing today. If the presenter's time's up, we move to the next one. But remember, we'll have the open floor time at the end where anyone can ask questions or share what they want to. So we're immediately moving on to the next presenter. I want to encourage everyone in the room, you can post questions, anything in the chat box, or you can keep your questions or comments to the end, however you want to do it. Yeah, and that's basically it. This is the first time we're doing it, so we're going to see how it works. So I'm briefly just going to tell you who we have in the room today, sharing. So first we'll have Olivia Shaw-Lavelle, and she's working in Jamaica and Trinidad and Tobago, and she's from an organization called Community Action for Health and Development. After Olivia, it will be David Rabur from Kenya. No, sorry, David's from Community Action for Health and Development. Olivia's from Men and Women of Destiny. Now you see how my eyes are watching the screen on this side. I'm sorry. Sorry, David and Olivia. Then third, we have Jaco van Skalkwyk. He's from South Africa and from an organization called the Character Company. And then finally, we'll have Veronica. Veronica's from Cameroon and from an organization called Community Association for Vulnerable Persons. All 4 of you, we're so excited to have you here. We're hoping that Oli will still join us, but if they can't, then we're delighted that the 4 of you will be able to share with us. And Olivia, we're kicking off with you. The floor is yours, please.
Thank you, Lisa. It's such a pleasure being here. So guys, as she mentioned, I'm Olivia. I'm from Jamaica, but I'm married to a Trinidadian. So my work extends where my husband is from. And so for the Caribbean region, and we're kind of just one kind of people. And so we understand the dynamics. And so I started Women of Destiny in 2015, and the work kind of focuses on creating a safe space for marginalized women, primarily because I'm from a stigmatized community. And so we wanted a space where women could really talk about their challenges and then we support them to overcome those challenges. And we're not just talk, we're very action oriented. And so we mobilize the resources that are definitely needed for them to overcome these challenges. And in doing so, our work kind of really just stems and focuses on SDG 5, which is women empowerment, providing mentorship and advocacy, and women who have gone through advocacy for women who are survivors of gender-based violence, health and well-being, because we recognize that mental health and emotional resilience are really core to the program, to the women's sustainable development. And then we are very faith focused, because we know that faith is a very sustainable tool for their healing and for their resilience as they overcome challenges that life may have. And so for the past 10 years, we've been working several programs, but our core programs are mentorship, advocacy, and empowerment. Under mentorship, we do a program called Adopt a Sister, where we have provided a safe space for women to connect and heal and support each other with women who are no or prominent women in society. And so we have, some faces that don't normally get to connect with. We are those mobilizers to get young women at a particular age to connect with these women so that they could do the work that they want to do and learn from them, the hands-on practicality. We do Little Big Sister project, which is more focused on young girls in state care who needs that kind of support from a woman of destiny that would really help them to build the resilience to overcome the challenges that they're going through. And now we're launching Sons and Fathers program in Trinidad that is for young boys who are vulnerable to violence, to have that encouraging male positive mentor to support them and that father figure in their life. Under advocacy, we launched I Am Her advocacy campaign, which was really bringing awareness on gender-based violence and women empowerment. And it was really driven by faith. Her stands for healthy, meaning that you have to have a holistic health. E stands for ethnicity, where we talk about our African roots. We talk about us being, just loving who we are and holding on to that. And R is revolutionary, where these women shift their mindset and no longer see themselves as victims, but now victors, and are starting the revolution by no longer being silent and helping someone else to break free from that chain of silence when they are abused. And so we also offer the skills training and entrepreneurship because it was important for them to be sustained and having that self-reliance. And so they are no longer dependent on their abuser, whether that be their partner or just family or friends. We wanted these women to have the economic empowerment to just keep going. And so our focus has always been that sustainable approach. But one of our core programs is our Sister Circle. We believe that healing community provides that. And we know that the spiritual support is foundational. And now we're going to launch Bond with the Ball, where we're using football as a tool to kind of bridge that healing space for men, to get them into that community, to get them to that understanding that, they have support to overcome the challenges that they need. So one of the main lessons I've learned over this decade of work is that faith is a powerful yet underutilized tool for sustainable change. And it has provided the group that I've worked with hope. And I know that we need more faith-based structured interventions to carry out that global change that we want to see. And so one of the key successes is that these ladies that I've supported over the years, I'm seeing where the mental stamina that they have built and the resilience that they have been equipped with to overcome the challenges, because life comes with the challenges, but these women have been so it's not just getting the job, but they have the mentality to keep the job. And so we recognize that even just the power of community in breaking those cycles of trauma and gender-based violence really kind of just speak to the testament of work that we have been doing for the past 10 years. And so I joined this CoP because there are very few and limited spaces that talk about faith and mental health. Mental health is stigmatized, and faith is it's coming to a place where it's kind of hush hush, like it's on its own and it doesn't come into the public health space of challenges that we come. But for me, I recognize that it's one of the same, like there's no change without your faith, because you have to have that resilience and belief in something higher than you to get you over that mountain. And so we know that faith is central in addressing gender-based violence, and we wanted to be in a space, because I just completed my MSc on decolonizing global mental health for survivors of gender-based violence in Jamaica. And my research proved that there's not enough research on faith and mental health intersectionality. And so it's just very important for me to be in a space with like-minded person that kind of would help to build my capacity and just like help to build the resources and interventions that we need to support the women that I work with. And so I'm looking forward to just partnering with persons who are in the faith, like faith leaders, psychologists in the mental health space, with culturally relevant programs. Though we're in the Caribbean, we understand the history. And so from the African perspective, because we're very spiritual, we want to know what is working, what isn't working, how can we collaborate to see, whether that be mentorship, partnership with organizations that blend faith and empowerment, or if there are opportunities for funding, grants, or sponsorship that would really expand the programs that we're doing. And finally, just like joint advocacy campaigns to kind of shift the cultural perspective on faith and gender-based violence and mental health. And so in closing, I just want to thank you again for this opportunity to share about my organization across the waters in the Caribbean, Jamaica, and we're now going into Trinidad and Tobago. And it's not just an organization for me, it's a movement. This is where we really seek to have a sustainable empowerment, uplift, and really heal our nations through faith, mentorship, and community building. And so if my work or the work that I've done resonates with you, I would love to connect more with you and to explore opportunities where we could collaborate. You can reach me by just Googling my name, joking. But I will, my email address is womenofdestinyja@gmail.com, or you can find me at Olivia Shaw Lovell on LinkedIn, or just Olivia Shaw Lovell, Jamaica, and you'll find me. I'm just But yes, if this work resonates with you, then it would be a blessing to me if we will connect. So thank you so much.
Oh, Olivia, thank you so much for that. I can now see how difficult it's just going to be for me personally to just move on to the next presenter. But thank you so much. I want to ask you if you can post in the chat box all your contact information that you're willing to share. Yes, Marula is also asking, please put it in the chat box. And then for everyone in the room, I asked the presenters, they're sharing about their organizations, but in the end, to share with us what they're hoping for around collaboration. So, and I think often when we're reaching out, it's just, oh, we're looking for funding. This isn't everyone's looking for funding. As you can hear from what Olivia's saying, we're really thinking further in terms of mentorship, in terms of, a like-minded partner to bounce ideas with. So please listen out around that about, where we can start holding hands in what we're doing. But thank you so much. Thank you so much, Olivia. Then David, we're now handing over to you. Are you okay with sharing your presentation, David?
Yes.
Excellent.
Yeah, good afternoon, good morning, everyone. I think I'll share my screen here.
We can
Lisa,
see it, David.
Can you confirm
Yes.
if it is seen?
It is seen, it's just not in presentation mode yet. So it's got like the little slides on the side. So it's a bit smaller, but if you can't put it in, if you put it in presentation mode, your slide's going to be a bigger. But if it can't, it's not the end of the world.
It's okay, because I've already sent it to you as well. Yeah, thank you. As I said, my name is David Rabur. I come from Kenya. I'm the Director for Community Action for Health and Development. We started the organization in 2008, and it's over like 10 years, but we started picking up well in 2018. And so what is CAHED doing actually in connection to the role of CAHED in faith and gender-based violence? We have categories of programs that are going on apart from the GBV that correlate with the health, education, climate change, governance, water and sanitation, and finally, sexual reproductive health. So those programs of health mostly go in tandem. So we are working in Homa Bay County. Homa Bay County is part of 47 counties in Kenya, and we are based in Homa Bay Town. The vision of organization is to be a leading locally led organization for empowering communities to thrive through health, development, and gender equity initiatives. And my mission is people working together and building communities for just society where women, girls, and youths, vulnerable communities enjoy full rights and live with dignity. Our focus activities are in gender-based violence. We have gender-based violence prevention and response that we normally have on a monthly basis and a week basis as our program. Then we have sexual reproductive health and rights that we are championing. Then again, we have climate justice with a focus on women and vulnerable populations. Then we also have supporting marginalized groups that includes people living with HIV and the LGBT community, because that is a gray area and mostly people don't want to talk about it, but it is the reality that our organization is focusing on. Of specific activities, the key activities that we are doing on gender-based violence, we have GBV awareness, campaigns and capacity building for faith leaders. And this one we organize like every Sunday, every Saturday. We normally put a church. We normally go to those different religions and talk to them about the gender-based violence. Then we have community dialogue and action days. We normally have monthly community dialogue, and after every 3 months, we have action day sessions on GBV. Then CAHED also have a safe space for survivors of GBV in collaboration with the government and the security administration. So that one we are doing. Then we also have advocacy for policy reforms related to sexual reproductive health and GBV. So CAHED, we are part of the community of practice and technical, sitting in the technical committee of health and GBV in the county. Yes, the lessons learned, I think, since we started this project, the involvement of faith leaders is crucial in addressing GBV and changing harmful norms in patriarchal communities, because the African context, we have a lot of religions, but you see each and religion have a different aspect on how they look at GBV, like issues to do with the sex before marriage, like underage sex, underage marriage. That is something that is so common, even including FGDD, not really in part of the northern Kenya, but in most of the region in the country. The other lessons learned is faith-based institutions can be powerful allies in promoting gender equity and transformative harmful cultural practices when engaged surgically. So what I said, we are involving bishops, you're involving pastors in all those structures of religion, both the indigenous religions and the hybrid religions that are focusing on the communities. The next area is about the lessons learned. Of course, that one I've talked about. Then the other one is the key success stories. What are our success stories? Through collaboration with faith-based organizations, CAHED has successfully initiated a community-based GBV response program in Homa Bay County with the other collaborators. Just as I said earlier, we have a safe space, and we are also sitting in the committee, the technical working committee of GBV, in Homa Bay County, and we are playing a role there with some of the funds that we got from other partners that are working in the same. This program integrated faith and counseling approaches on mental health, resulting into 30% increase in reporting GBV cases and providing survivors with access to justice and psychosocial support. Because that is what the Safe Space is doing. We have a counselor that is employed by CAHED, and we have even a clinical officer that is going through all those through the support from other partners. So that the survivors get something. And actually, since we started this project in 2020, we have seen the prevailing and access, and including reporting cases of GBV in our community, that people are coming out, both in the families and in the communities. So that is something that is taking place. So why did we want to join the comms of the practice? The first reason is to strengthen our capacity to address GBV through evidence-based approaches. The other one is to learn from global best practices and share local insights with other members, as I'm saying now. The other thing is to collaborate with like-minded organizations on faith and GBV issues. How our work links to religion and GBV. Engaging religious leaders to collaborate to challenge harmful traditional beliefs, contributing to GBV. Then promoting gender equity through faith-based teachings and community dialogues, what we've been doing throughout the community. Then the calling about the collaboration, what types of collaboration goals are we looking at? CAHED is looking collaboration sought from SVRI, research partnerships to gather evidence on faith and GBV interventions. We are also looking for collaboration in training and resources on faith-based approaches to addressing gender-based violence. Then we also are looking for collaboration on funding opportunities for expanding CAHED's faith and GBV programs, because we are working in one county, so we can even extend to 5 or 6 counties depending on the resources that are available. The other collaboration is advocacy platform to amplify local voices and success stories globally. And then finally, the issues of mentorship. In closing contact, we can see that those messages, we have our information. At CAHED, we believe that faith approaches are key to breaking the circles of GBV. Together, we can create a world where gender equity and justice thrive. So we have the website, we have email addresses, and even social media places where you can follow us as an organization. Then finally, I have the pictures that shows some of the works that we have been doing in the community. The first picture is the staff and the board members when we normally have a monthly meeting. Then the second one you see now, we have a community approach. We are talking to the community about the GBV. This community includes everybody, including teachers, social workers, mental health providers, and even health providers. So this is the community. And then the third grade, you can see the girls. These are almost like 100 girls when we call them for the mentorship. And this is now me in red talking to the girls. These are teenage girls that have always gotten pregnancy at the age of 9, 10, and we are also working with them. So they are the most people that are really getting a lot in GBV. You can see here, we also have a program in schools where we are supporting. We have clubs, gender-based violence clubs in most of the schools. So when we go to the schools, we entice them with even sanitary towels, panties, and many others. So this is a cohesive and a coherent type of work that we are doing in the community. We are
1
just
minute, David.
Thank you so much. If we get partners that can really engage in our work, then we'll appreciate. Thank you so much for listening to me. We are ready for any engagement and further partnership. Thank you, and may God bless you.
Thank you so much, David. David, I want to ask you, in your second to last slide, all the contact information that you had there, if you can please post that in the chat as well, like all the ways that people can reach out to you. Thank you so much, David. And we're now moving on to Yaku. Yaku, can you share with us more on your organization, please?
We can do so. Thank you very much. And thank you for the opportunity. It's lovely to be on a call with like-minded and like-hearted people. My name is Yaku. I am the dad and the founder of an organization called the Character Company. The Character Company is a long-term mentorship program for young boys that are growing up with absent fathers, or where there are no positive male role models in their lives. I know that we've got quite a international audience here, and so I don't know what the statistics looks like in other countries, but I know that it's also pretty high in South Africa. We're looking at close to 70% of children are growing up in single-parent homes. And in our experience, as many as 4 out of 5 boys do not have a positive male role model in their lives. And if we look at the issues that we're facing, at the top of those, of course, gender-based violence, but other issues like corruption and substance abuse and suicide, then we understand that the most important thing that we can do is to get boys to understand that there is someone out there looking after them, someone that's fighting for their hearts, and someone that's fighting for their for them, and make them understand that they're important. And so as an organization, that's what we do. We step into those spaces and helping boys to grow up in a different space. It's very important, especially in that early development stages of a boy between 5 and 10 or 5 and 12. That question that a boy walks around with is, do I have what it takes? Can I do this? Am I strong enough? Am I important enough? Am I worthy enough? All of those questions. And if we don't put a father into that space, then we're missing something crucial. And then a boy grows up into a life where a lot of things become very, very challenging. And the most important part of that, the thing for me as a boy that grew up with an absent father, the thing that was the hardest was that no one taught me or showed me the heart of God. And growing up in a space where my relationship with God as a father has always been so challenging, because I struggled so much with my father on earth in a way. And so for us, it's a process of how do we put together a values-based program that is focused on instilling strong values, building an environment where boys are supported and someone that walks the road with them. But at the core of that is to make them understand that they are valuable and that they are beloved sons of the Most High God. Obviously, the impact of absent fathers has a devastating effect on girls as well. But we decided to keep very, very focused on doing a long-term process, because this is something that didn't happen overnight. Very, very intentional mentorship with boys from as young as 5. And so a boy come into our program at the age of 5 if we can, and we mentor that boy for as long as we possibly can. So a boy doesn't leave the program. 2 years ago, we've had our first boys that finished school, and they now either in workplace programs that we try and establish, or they've become junior mentors in our program. December last year, we had we camp a lot with our boys in our year-end camp. One of the boys that was in our program was actually one of our junior mentors at camp, and it was such an amazing experience to see this young man that has walked a road and is now in a place where he gives back in that specific way. Our key focus areas. And we focus right across South Africa at the moment, and I'll come to what we were looking at collaborations later. But we are focusing on the space of godly masculinity. That is where our passion is. If we can get boys to understand all these things, then we can fix all the other challenges that we're facing. And so for us, that's a very, very important aspect of how do we deal with the issues that we are facing. So we do long-term mentorship for these young boys on a weekly basis. So we've got positive male role models, men that we call fat guys, faithful, available, and teachable. And they step into a space, and they've got a group of boys, as many as 5 boys, no more than 5, no less than 2. These men go through a very rigorous onboarding process, something like 116 steps, that we make sure that we have that we've got the right people on board. It's a big commitment we're asking. It's mentorship once a week. But it's a valuable space to get boys to understand that someone loves them and someone cares for them. We also work in the space of godly masculinity, where we run a program called Men Around a Fire, where we have men into conversations where we talk about the basic principles of vulnerability, accountability, and commitment. The reason why men struggle to make commitment is because they're not accountable to anyone anymore. And the reason why we're not accountable is because we are too scared to be vulnerable and step into spaces where we open up And so for us, it's a question of honesty being one of our core values. And honesty means that I can talk to a group of people that I trust. The men, I talk about who are the men that sits around your table, who are the men that I share my life with, men that I can be accountable to, so that I can make a commitment to be the best version of myself. And so if I have that from men that can then impart that to young boys as they grow up, we start changing the challenges that we find in here. For us, it's been very, very important to be very intentional about this. It means that we are committing a huge amount of energy into a space where we not just spend time with a boy once a week, but we also do regular camp activities where we get those boys into spaces for a longer time, where we do, I want to say, the dad things, the discipline stuff around, pick up the papers, let's eat at the table, how do we behave ourselves, and how do we engage in a social setting. At our camps and activities, no cell phones allowed, no technology. We keep that as an outside space where boys get some sun on their skins and wind in their hair and experience things like climbing trees and doing activity-based things away from screens and enclosed spaces. And one of the great things we've seen through that is just how it works and how well it works. When a boy grows up, and I look at our teenagers, how vastly different they are from the general cross-cut of teenagers in society, how differently they behave, not because their lives are better and easier, but because they know that there's someone they can reach out to. These mentors are not there just for these activities. They're also there when our challenges at school, when mom struggles with issues around discipline, when the school has a discipline issue, where there's bullying at school. So these mentors are always available to do this interventions, to walk into those spaces. What's important for us, my two greatest passions in the nonprofit space has always been sustainability and partnership. And I think really they work hand in hand. And so, it's amazing to be on a platform where we can talk about these things, and we can talk about them, the specific link on how do we, if we can get boys to understand that they're beloved sons, it changes the game for us. It means that the stuff that we're dealing with comes on a foundation of faith and on a foundation that gives hope. We are entrepreneurs of hope, and that's what we work with every day. And so for us, it is the opportunity to work together in spaces. We know how to mentor. We don't do education. We don't do feeding schemes. We don't do, and so in the partnership space, we can come alongside organizations and saying, you focus on what you're focusing on. But what we can bring into this is the skill set and the guidance and the structure and the program that we've crafted over the last 12 years on how to do mentorship well, and we can support that. And then together we work towards creating a different society and making it better. And so the collaborations that we are looking for is really people that are saying, man, we would love to see a difference in the way that boys behave in our community. We would love to see men being more engaged. We'd love to see these activities taking place so that we can tackle the biggest issue, which is gender-based violence. And it's an issue that really, really should keep us awake, because nothing changes. I don't know about in your environments, but in our environments, statistically, as we're having this conversation, the statistic today is worse than it was yesterday, and tomorrow it's going to be worse than today. And we are not intentionally doing something about this. And we have a way to do it. We've shown it and we've experienced it. So I'll drop all the information in the chat section, but also the links to some other stuff that we're doing. Reach out. Like we have a heart to see godly masculinity restored. And we love the idea of a partnership where we can talk about this stuff and create and craft programs where we make that happen. And it doesn't have to, this can happen whenever a man stands up and put his hand up and saying, here am I, use me. And where an organization can come alongside and saying, we've got men that can speak to men in our communities and boys in our community. And we talk about that. It's not a question that we can't use women because they're not good enough. We can't use like when the mom's in our program, it's not that you're not good enough, it's just you're not dad enough. And so in that spaces where a man can speak into the life of a young boy, it makes a huge difference. And that's how we change our communities. So thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for just it's exciting to share this with a more global audience. And I'm looking forward to hearing from you and see if there's opportunities where we can really work together. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Jaco. That was amazing to listen to. And Olivia, I was thinking this connects with what you were saying with your Sons and Fathers program that you're starting in Trinidad, to maybe connect with Jaco about, connecting there. And I see in the chat, Bushra also posted that this is relevant to work in Afghanistan as well. So thank you. Yaku posted a lot of things in the chat. Please get his contact information there, as well as other YouTube videos I can see with relevant information. This is very exciting. Now I'm handing over to Veronica. Veronica, I'll start sharing my screen for you. Just be patient with me, please, till I find your slides. It is here somewhere. And there it is. Share. Are you seeing it, Veronica?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
So good, hello everyone. It's my pleasure to be here today. My name is Veronica Ngum, and I'm the founder and CEO of the Community Association for Vulnerable Persons, as we call it, CAVP. And slide, please. It's my pleasure to be at this event today. So about the CAVP, the Community Association for Vulnerable Persons, is a women with disability-led organization. It's working to advocate and promote rights for women and girls with disabilities, young women living with HIV/AIDS, and survivors of gender-based violence. The CAVP is based in Bamenda, the Northwest region of Cameroon, and its operational presence is the Northwest region of Cameroon. Our vision is we believe women have the right to experience life free from poverty, violence, exclusion, and discrimination. So we visualize a world without poverty, in which the rights of vulnerable women are respected. They are empowered, uplifted, and have the right to equal partnerships in society. Our core values are social inclusion, accessibility, gender equity, partnership, respect, and accountability. We deal with a very vulnerable population, so we are very keen about accessibility, respect, and we put to practice very keenly our core values. Slide, please. So our key focus areas and key activities, our work is on prevention and mitigation of gender-based violence and other forms of violence against women and girls with disabilities, and diversified women and girls. We invest in skill building, that is economic, digital, advocacy, education, and awareness. We build skills on that and empower women with disabilities and the marginalized minority to speak out for themselves. We partner with other organizations to have provision of startup grants to set up small businesses for our target population. And we provide financial support for medical assistance to children with children with sickle cell anemia. We also advocate for the promotion and respect of rights to inclusion, participation, and empowerment for girls and women with disabilities and survivors of gender-based violence. We promote sexual and reproductive health rights. We promote their rights through advocacy and social media campaigns using content creation and digital storytelling. We encourage individual self-care and wellness to maximize healthy working conditions and have a greater impact on our team and the community we serve. We encourage healing so that we can fully participate and be productive at our work and the population we serve. So the slide, please. One key lesson we have learned in doing our work is that we have learned that it is of great importance to consult women and girls with disabilities and involve them in project cycle from conception to monitoring. This will inspire us and others and every stakeholder to be intentional and apply flexibility in meeting the diversified needs of persons with disabilities in their interventions and their thematic areas. Slide, please. Our key successes we have had in doing our work is partnering for the medical assistant for sickle cell anemia children. 2 years ago, we started a family. 2 years ago, we started supporting a family with 2 children. I started with my personal funds, and when I was about to run short of funds, God gave us the opportunity, as I would say, to win an award. That award, through that small initiative, gave us a partnership that is now supporting those children, and we have a 3-year partnership with that organization, the Effective Help Organization, and those children will receive monthly medical assistance till the December of 2026. And it is encouraging us to grow the project, because now we have a second family with also 2 children. So we are now assisting 4 children instead of 2, and it keeps growing. So that is a very big success, because the situation of sickle cell anemia in Cameroon is very neglected, which is also a kind of situation that generates disability to other children that are sick of it. So some children with disability generate disability in the course of their life as a result of sickle cell anemia. So they always neglect sickle cell children and are too focused on children with disability, of which sickle cell is more severe than the case of disability, and they really need help. So we had to have the opportunity to factor this in our interventions, because we realized that sickle cell and disability, they move together, and sickle cell is even more neglected than a disability, and it has given us this big success. Thank you. Slide, please. We joined this community of practice because in many African churches and faith communities, women and girls, especially those with disability, face gender-based violence, stigma, violation of rights, and discrimination, and nothing or little is being done about it. In many instances, a woman or girl is abused when a woman or girl is abused in any way, she is blamed. The blame is on her. They'll ask her, why did you dress like this? You acted in a way that has seduced that man to sexually harass you. You wore a dress. You were in an environment that was not tolerated or has been worn. That should not be there. So they always receive the blame for experiencing violence. So in that case, the case is always covered, or in most times, it is always covered.
I'm not sure. Is this just me? I'm not hearing Veronica at the moment.
No, I've also lost her.
Oh, okay. Veronica, if you can hear us, we lost you. It's okay if you switch off your camera. Or did she drop out entirely? Let me check. Oh, that will now be unfortunate. Yeah. Oh no.
Do you have
Okay,
any challenge with the network?
Yeah, no. So let's see if she joins again, that she can finish up. Let's give it a minute or so. Okay. Well, I'll get a reminder if she tries to join. There you are. Ha ha ha. You're back.
Thank you. So when the situation is blamed on the survivor, nothing or very little is being done about it, just in the context of the community, no justice, the person is not faced with, does not have access to legal services, and nothing is being done. And most of the time, the family will say we should cover it because they fear stigma and they want to protect the faith institution's name, or there's faith leader who is a perpetrator. So my organization's work is also linked to religion and GBV, because GBV is our key focus, and we are a member of the Faith to Action Network, which was the network that introduced us to faith activities and interventions with GBV. My role as a faith actor for gender justice promotes leadership in faith communities and advocate for the respect of right and inclusion of women and girls with disabilities, to use scriptural quotation to be able to prevent the aspects of violence and gender-based violence in the churches in Cameroon. So, a slide, please. The type of collaboration we are looking for is we are looking for organizations that can partner with us and like to extend their work to Cameroon. We are open for volunteering our services and partnering to be able to, for those who want to promote their works in Cameroon and promote the rights of persons with disabilities in faith and gender-based violence prevention. We also look for individuals who can support our project on global giving, which has been published on Global Giving Now. We want to also collaborate with those that can support us technically or individually on our sexual and reproductive health and gender-based violence intervention, our digital stories, help us to have followers online to gain more visibility. And also, we want to collaborate with people that can provide us with resources that will strengthen our capacities to impact more persons, especially women and girls in need. Slide, please. So you can follow us online. These are our various online platforms. I will also share it in the chat and our contact information. And thank you. Last slide, please. Thank you very much. I'll be waiting for any questions.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Veronica.
Thank you.
Wow. Okay. So everyone, that's it in terms of our presentations. The rest of our time we have for open discussion, and this is now an open floor. Nothing is prepared for this. So it can be that you have specific questions to the presenters, but it can also be that you share maybe something from what your organization is doing that resonated maybe with something that the presenter shared. You can connect with specific ideas around collaboration. This can go anywhere. And I am always very awkward with silences on webinars where, you ask a question and no one volunteers. But today I shall not be awkward. And I'm just going to sit here and you can unmute yourself and share what you want to. And I'm just going to be quiet. Anyone can go.
Thanks, Lisa. I won't keep you in so much of awkward silence. My question is to Olivia. I'd really like to know a little bit more about your football programming. That sounded really, really interesting.
Lovely, thank you. So this would be our pilot program, and what we hope to do is kind of three-pronged. So the first thing is that we want to we're targeting young boys. We're going to use a program that's already evidence-based and established, that was done in the United States, called Coaching Boys into Men framework. So you could probably look that up. And then we will just make it culturally relevant, because there's some elements in there that would just not work in our cultural context. So we're just kind of using that established framework, but the objective is really to get young boys between the ages of 12 to under 25 in a space where football is something that brings these young guys together, and they love it passionately. So we're going to offer them coaching in that football so that could build their skill. And we're partnering with international persons who could as I said, this is pilot. So the big objective is that the sustainable part of it is that they could be recruited or join into groups or get opportunity for exchange to enhance their football skills. So that's the end. But in the beginning, we really want to give them hands-on mentorship and guidance through the Sons and Fathers program, and also to use the mentors as their coaches weekly. It's a 12-week program, and we kind of just go through the information there with them. But because it's such a very informal space, and in our cultural context is more like in Trinidad they will say it's liming. This is where you just chill, probably drink, and that's where conversations happen. This is where you know the challenges that people are facing. This is where you understand how lack of aware they are about certain issues. So even like my friend of mine is running a program in Jamaica where she's targeting young boys in the schools, and they're having conversation around consent, and you would be so surprised that they don't have no idea that they should ask consent in sexual activities. They don't know, like we would assume, but they don't know. So we kind of want to give them that informal space to really just talk, but provide leadership in a sense of with other men who have been there, in a sense, that authentic, open space for them to just rap and get that kind of encouragement and mentorship that they would need. And then we kind of just end that off with just awarding them for their participation, having entertainments, and just kind of leading into the coaching academy that we're going to establish in the later on. But yeah, if you have more questions, you could let me know. Thank you.
Thanks. Lisa, if there's no more question, can I ask a question to Jaco?
Go for it.
Thanks, Olivia, and I'll definitely be reaching out to that. But for Jaco, I think it's I'd like to hear from you how you are approaching this question, because in my context, men also in the church tend to they see that there's a gap, but then there's also the historical fear of what has happened in terms of systematic and sexual abuse of young boys in church, and women and single mothers being afraid of having their sons attend some of these, especially like sleepaway camps. It's very common to say, like, you can go during the day, but you can't sleep over, and how you are building that confidence with the mothers to have them trust you with their sons.
Yeah, I think it's been very interesting for us is that the trust issue has been really established from the beginning, and I wouldn't other than it being an absolute miracle, I would not know where they would have come from, because I mean, I think of the early days. So we meet with every mom. Now that our program's a bit bigger, there's still a lot of information around for the moms before they sign up the program, so they also understand where we're coming from. And also a lot of our referrals come from existing moms and seeing the program in action. So I think that's one of the things that helps. But in the initial stages, I would meet with moms, talk them through the process, make them understand what we're doing. And I think where we find the trust relationship is because we've been around for a long time. We are very intentional because moms also speak. So a new mom on the program would meet a mentor before the boys start the program. The mentor and his wife, if there's a wife involved, they would do that together. The moms are, they know how strict our intake program is. They know the stuff that we do in order to protect the boys the whole time. And so for us, it's been a great journey as far as that trust relationship has been concerned. And of course, we work very hard at it. We work. Like I said, our intake process is like 116 steps. From the moment a man makes a commitment to become a mentor, there's literally 116 steps. And that includes reference checks, sexual offences registry, all of that stuff. So we're very specific about that. And then, of course, with the men, we just stay in the conversation. So we have very strict protocols around our mentorship. You're not allowed to be in a space alone with a boy. There's always other mentors involved, and so we constantly work at that space because it's an important aspect for us. And with the men itself, we just keep on engaging in the conversations. We keep on talking about the importance of what we're doing, and the importance of working with boys. I'm not sure if that's answering your question there.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks so much to both of you. And now we have hands raised. It's going to be Laurel, and then after Laurel, Nubantu, please.
Thank you, Lisa. My question also goes to Yaku. I was really interested in your work around working with boys, especially around godly masculinities. And my question is, what curriculum do you use? Do you use biblical texts? Or is there a set of methods that you use to engage the boys through their godly journey, and also intersecting that with the issue of gender-based violence? So I'd like to learn more about that. Thank you.
So we actually wrote our own curriculum, and I say curriculum very loosely. It is a mentor's manual. It's a guide to raising boys to be good men, is what we call it. And it's essentially 12 modules, and we took our 5 core values, which is honesty, respect, kindness, self-discipline, and courage. And we took that, and then we took 7 other topics that we did a bit of research on with our beneficiaries. And those are topics like, who am I? Around identity. It's conflict resolution, relationship building, all of that stuff. And so we spread that out over the 12 months, and every month has got a main topic. And then the 5 weeks under that has got themes related to that topic. So for example, growing up with an absent father, one of the greatest things for me has been that lack of identity. It's like, who am I? So I wrote February, and it's about, I'm a child of God, I'm a boy, I'm a member of a family, I'm a citizen of a country, I'm around people in a social setting. So every week we just talk a little bit about that, but we're also very specific not to reenact the school environment for us. And because, the moment we become an extramural activity, you've lost the boys. So in the beginning stages, the very first group session I did was me and 3 boys around a table at a school. And I realized within half an hour that we are definitely not doing homework, because that is going to sink this program before we even started. So we went out. We went into the park and we played ball. And so it became very much like that. And so the curriculum is very much, what are we talking about this month? Because that is what is foundational stuff that will make us better men, is if I have a strong set of values, if I know how to communicate better, if I understand my identity. And so we talk to the boys about that, very short write-ups of the mentors, and prepare for, for us, the brief is, you prepare for this, you pray about it, you trust the Holy Spirit when you're standing from those boys, you're having the conversations in the interaction. So it's never lecture format, and you listen to the conversations, so you pick up out of the conversations, and you'll drive the mentorship in that direction based on what we want to do. The issue around gender-based violence for me is a critical one. And I keep on coming back to it, because I really believe that there's a way to fix this, and especially if we're looking at the connection with faith. And so the question then comes back, but why is it still a pandemic? Why in a continent or a country where 80% of people profess to be Christian, are we having statistics like this? And so something is missing. And so one of the things we do specifically is to talk about respect and my identity. So what is the kind of man that I want to be? And that is what drives the conversation. And I would not want to be the kind of man that behaves in a way that is, that drives the statistics around crime and gender-based violence. Respect for us is to treat other people, their belongings, in the time, the way I want to be treated. And so when we talk about respect to the boys, it's about, how do I respect the people around me? So I might be stronger, or I might be, whatever my skill set is, that might be different from other people, but how do I use that in a way to become a protector and someone that creates spaces that are safe, rather than being a bully? And so we use our value system very specifically around gender-based violence as well. And that's how we do it.
Thank you, Yaku. Thank you, Laurel. I'm going to ask, so it's now Ubuntu, and then Josephine, and then Purity. Maybe with everyone asking a question or adding a comment, if you could maybe just briefly say your name and your organization and the country where you're working. Especially, I think if it's a question coming to a speaker, it helps to have some kind of understanding of the person that you're talking to. But Ubuntu, floor is yours.
Thank you, Lisa. Can you hear me? Okay. I'm Nobantu. I'm from South Africa, at the University of Witwatersrand. So my questions are for David on climate justice with a focus on women and vulnerable populations. I just want to know how you tackle climate justice. Like what is the purpose of this? As you said, this was your key area of focus. Can you just please make the link also to GBV? And in what ways? Like I'd like examples of the projects that the project has started to tackle, you know, eco-anxiety and the loss of space for vulnerable populations, particularly women. And then for Veronica, with sexual health and reproductive rights activities, I'm wondering what types of interventions have you used? Have you used applied trauma in that sense, or trauma therapists? And for which population particularly? Is it for teens and adolescents or for young women? Because I think as the years have gone by, sexual health and reproductive interventions have really gone down because people have the idea that they're no longer required, but they are deeply required, especially with GBV and managing HIV incidence rates. So yes, so my questions are for David and Veronica.
David, if you maybe go first, thank you, Nobantu, and then Veronica, you after that, please. David, you're muted, but I don't know if you're speaking. I can't quite see, but at the moment you're still muted.
Okay, thank you. I think my response on climate justice with the focus on women and the communities and broader communities. We normally deal with the humanitarian activities, like why am I connecting climate impacts and women? In several locations, like last year, April, when there were a lot of rains, and this has been cumulative year come, year in, we normally have displaced people as a result of flood and even the impact of climate as a result of like flood and even heavy rains. So you'll get those days, people normally like women and more so girls are most likely are vulnerable when their homes are not there. The floods have swept everything, including the livelihoods. They go to even IDP areas, like places where now they are alone. So at those places, we realize that a lot of injustices are being done, more so on girls. Those are the places in the IDP areas where they have the rap of like rape and even issues of abuses, and also that characterized by women and girls. In most cases, and persons with disability, because they have no place, they're just put in the open air. Maybe it can be even a school or a church, but in the massive. And so we realized that when we were doing our environment, or when we are doing our humanitarian support, in most cases, women become more vulnerable as a result of the impacts of climate. And this is something that we are doing because that's why we are championing for climate justice among women and young girls, and also the vulnerable communities, because at that time, a period of 4 to even 6 years, when the government has no focus on them, we realize most of girls become pregnant, most of women are being abused, they are losing their livelihood. So that is partly what we are connecting with the climate justice and GBV, because you realize at that particular time, those 3 months will have a lot of, like, even 90% of girls that are staying in those IDPs are having pregnancy. and it is a forced pregnancy, then sometimes it is induced because they are vulnerable and they cannot actually help themselves. The other area we'll get, like climate and gender, is something that we need to strengthen. So we want to have a situation where people know during the times that rains are not there, they are supposed to live in a places where they will not have existed problems. So that's why we are connecting also that kind of the GBV and the climate, and more so among the women that are suffering. And so our strategy is the security and also building capacities for those women and young and those that are vulnerable to understand that during those cases, we have realized cases of GBV that are coming almost like 90%. So how to support in those areas? So that's, we are bringing intertwining the activities so that people understand that we are even having a lot of people, women that are having new infection of HIV and other diseases that are characterized by climate impact. And that's why the connection normally becomes. But it's a challenge we are having in places like Homa Bay, more so in Nyanza, the result of a flood and many other things that are currently happening in the country. So thank you.
Veronica, we're handing over to you for the second question from
thank you for the question. If I understood the question clearly, to say what specific interventions we have done and to which target population, right? Okay. Our target population are women and girls with disabilities and young women living with HIV/AIDS. Young women who are 30 years and below living with HIV/AIDS, and women and girls with disabilities. With women and girls, we don't have a specific age ceiling, an age limit. We work with all women and girls with disabilities, but we work with young women living with HIV/AIDS, 30 years and below. Our sexual and reproductive health interventions is mostly based on education and awareness raising. We organize educative workshops with our target population, like the young women and girls living with HIV/AIDS and the women with disabilities, to teach them, educate them on their bodily autonomy, menstrual hygiene, how to meet their specific needs, and how to speak out or be able to have control over your sexuality. Because you have a disability, they should not take an advantage on you, assuming, because in our community and in our context, most women with disabilities are assumed not to be able to keep relationship or be in love or fall in love. Secondly, they look at women with disability like because of their impairment, they are not supposed to have a monthly period. So there are families that they will look for ways to neglect, or they would want to seek medical interventions to cease their period, forcefully cease their period from flowing, because they don't have a power to choice or decision over their lives. They consider women and girls with disabilities not to have the right to bear children. And sometimes, because they see that a woman is of a high degree of impairment, they are neglected, and they are locked up at home, and maybe they face this sexual violence, rape based in their own home, but nothing is being done about it. So we educate them on how to be able to take decisions about their lives. Even if you get married, you should be able to decide with your husband on child spacing and the number of children you will. We also raise awareness with the families and communities on how to support this target population to have a better sexual and reproductive rights services and access them. We work with stakeholders to be able to offer inclusive sexual and reproductive rights services. With faith-based organization, it is considered sex education in most cases is considered a taboo to discuss among children, among communities. So they always quote languages, speak in coded languages. So the fake education, fake communities, we educate them on why it is important to raise awareness on sex rights, on sexual education for women and girls. It helps us to have documented facts about faith-based organizations, evidence, and facts about managing gender-based violence and sexual and reproductive health promotion. Thank you, and over to you.
Thank you, Veronica. Josephine. Josephine, your hands up. You're next in line.
Yes, I'm talking. Can anyone
Oh,
hear
there
me?
I'm hearing you. Sorry, I can
I've
hear you
removed the
now.
microphone. Thank you very much for such a wonderful discussion. Very informative. I think my question goes to Yako and David again. I may have missed the first speaker because I had not logged in because of network challenges, but my question to the two is currently, as you have been working in your organizations, probably you can tell us what's the response from the religious space about gender-based violence, knowing that religious leaders are the key perpetrators in such spaces. And number two, what strategies have you been most successful when you have been working with religious leaders and spaces in engaging them as allies to GBV, while probably respecting a religious autonomy? And then the other one, probably you can share briefly about what advocacy methods you use against GBV in religious spaces. Thank you.
Thanks, Josephine. So 3 questions. So maybe both Yaku and David try to move between the 3 fairly quickly. Yaku, if you go first, and then David, you, please.
Yeah, I think for me, it's a question of we try and engage with church leaders where we can, but our program is not dependent on it. One of the sad legacies that the corporate church or structured religion has left at the moment is that there's just not a focus on the key issues. We're not building. I mean, if you look at the statistics about the amount of boys with absent fathers, those statistics are the same in church. And often churches are not interested in programs that they haven't come up themselves, or where they have to share volunteers, or they're scared that they have to share funding. And so we would engage with churches where we can, and we have slowly started making some progress in that. And I must say, about 2 years ago, we actually ran an exercise because I started really thinking that we are doing something fundamentally wrong. And I started having an exercise around directly asking churches this question. And we had a church that was very engaged and then pulled out. And I actually asked them, I would like to understand, because we would like to help you, because people are starting to think that's how you operate. We haven't had success in an answer from them, but then I went to other organizations that are dealing with churches, and unfortunately, the response was the same. It is very difficult. There's a low response. And so our focus really is on, we would love to work with church leaders. I think, this is the one place, we only use Christian mentors in our program. This is the one place where the message is very direct. This is not a go and start a committee about this or consider. It's like God says in his word, look after the orphans and the widows, not look at them. He says, look after them. That is pure and undefiled religion. And so I'm baffled at how it is that we're not having greater success with getting mentors. I've got a waiting list for boys, but not for mentors, and it should be the other way around. And so I think what's very, very difficult for us in that space is to honor the churches for the work they do, but also keep on having the conversation that if we're not talking about the practical things, if we are not dealing with issues that are related to single moms and boys are growing up and being killed and end up in prisons, then what are we doing? I mean, then we are playing church. And so I think for me, it's a very, very frustrating space. So we engage where we can, but we also go on with the work where we can, because we believe that that's the place to find mentors, but it's also can't be the place where you get hamstrung in your programs. And so It's a sad state of affairs, and we should be able to do more. But it is also a reflection on the deception we find in the times we're living in, as well as the lack of commitment from men in even church spaces, especially church spaces. And I think it comes back to an issue of faith. I'm not prepared to trust God for that step into being a mentor and give of myself. And so I would like to have more control over my faith journey, and therefore I'm not stepping out in that space. And that is a very strong opinion, but it's also crafted over many years of seeing just how difficult it is working in that space.
Thank you so much,
Yeah,
Yaku.
thank you, Jacob.
David.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, thank you so much. I think Jacob has done a lot, but we'll also talk on the advocacy strategies for faith and gender-based violence. As I told you earlier, in Homa Bay County, where I work in Kenya, we have a health technical committee. So that health technical committee has civil society, have faith-based organizations, have community-based organizations, have church leaders as we are speaking, as educationists, all those fraternity professionals. I think that is what we have done well as a county. And Homa Bay being a place for a triple threat, where we realize GBV, HIV, AIDS, and teen mothers getting pregnancy was very eminent. Sorry? Yeah. So this occasioned at least an emergency that was bringing all the stakeholders coming together to articulate the issues that are characterized within gender-based violence. So if I'm talking about most of the strategies that we as a community are based on, because we have been having funds from PEPFAR and other partners from UK and US that have been funding the GBV. And we are also part of UN Women caucus, working on the same on GBV. So we have a lot of strategies that we are using that is also supported by most of our partners. So one of the key strategies is a faith-based awareness campaign. So this one, we involve most of the faith-based leaders, including going to their spaces. But again, within the network, we have having different platforms to engage them through awareness creation. And those awareness creations, we can put them over the radio within our local context, and even in English, and also using magazine, like social media now become a platform for tailoring most of the awareness, because it has become a norm and it's become a problem. The other thing is involving them in training religious leaders and faith institutions. So when we are doing training for healthcare providers, the religious leaders are also involved. They are also called. So this is one of the strategies where we are now getting into those spaces. I know for a long time, you will get like when HIV came into fold, the religious leaders were against condoms. And it was not something that they can talk about in the pulpit, but they realized even themselves were getting HIV infections. So as a result, it was something that has to be talked about. If you don't talk about it, who will talk about it? So today in the pulpit, the padres, the pastors can talk about even condoms in church, because they realize if you don't talk about safer sex, then by the end of the day, you are losing even those pastors as well, because they're also human beings. The other thing is engaging men and boys, I think, which is also very important. We have school-based approaches where we teach both boys and girls together. Then when we come outside the school, we have the community forums. So these community forums, you are engaging both men and boys that are also perpetrators. We sit together in our community dialogues and community sensitization, and then community work action days for GBV, so that all these people will tell us what are the best strategies to avoid and to protect our girls. What is also coming out, mostly we are talking about GBV only happened to girls. We've realized even those boys, today you will get like some underage boys are also being violated by the older girls. So it's something that actually is a conversation that must bring both boys and girls together, so that we talk about the GBV. The other aspect of strategies, the policy advocates and legal engagement, where now we are strengthening the faith-based institution, the leaders on policies and GBV prevention. What we are doing as an organization, that we realize most of these institutions don't have what we call PSEA, that is prevention of gender-based violence, because we realized at workplaces, the GBV was very common. Churches are not exempted. We've realized occasions where churches, even those leaders, are violating their subjects. So it was a conversation that we are saying we need to have policies that are even in-house. Within those organizations, do we have policies that talks about PSEA, prevention of gender-based violence and prevention of even sexual abuse? So this is also characterized and supporting the community and the church together. The other aspect is collaboration with government and civil society. That has been playing a very vital role. Just in case there is a community engagement, we make sure the government rallies people, the civil society are coming together, and the faith-based organizations are also not exempted because they are part and parcel of the decision makers in the community. So we normally engage them. And
Oh, goodness. I think David's connection just dropped out. That was very abrupt. Okay. Purity, your hands up, and this will then be our last question for or comment for today's session. Purity, you're up, please.
Thank you, Lisa. I think for me, my question has already been answered
I
pretty
got
much.
lost on the way. Sorry for that.
David, yeah, sorry
sorry?
that you dropped out. We're going to pause now and hand over to Purity because we're running out of time now and her hand has been up for a while. So we're just going to turn to Purity for a question. Sorry,
Yeah.
Purity, please go ahead.
Yeah. So my question was actually what Josephine has asked previously, but I know that I've understood from David's presentation, because I've worked with the faith leaders and most of them don't have the capacity and the knowledge on how to handle gender-based violence. So they are taking a victim or a survivor takes a case to a religious leader or to share her complaints and seek refuge, seek support. But you find the religious leader has no capacity. So the religious leader just tells the victim or the survivor, please just go back home and try not to anger your spouse. So I like what David has responded in terms of building the capacity of religious leaders and also looking at matters concerning policy, and that is where he dropped off. Because I think there's a lot of work that the government can do to ensure that even those who are perpetrators of violence are caught and they are dealt with the law. The law becomes very harsh on them to ensure that this is not repeated. Same case to femicide cases, because in Kenya, we've had quite a number of femicide cases. I'm also from Kenya, from Christian in Kenya, and we've seen those perpetrators and the murderers as they're out on bond. So I think those are discussions that we can have in terms of policy and look at how such legal measures are put. We are having more stringent legal measures. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Purity, and I think
Purity for actually, thank you.
It's actually maybe a good point on which to end today, because if I thank you everyone for using the comment box, because you've been adding such just interesting reflections. And what we're seeing, it's not limited to one country, but we're also seeing it's not limited to one faith. I think the challenges for many organizations that follow a faith-based approach in various ways around responding to GBV, around that engagement with organized religion or formal religion, however we want to call it, and the challenges in different ways. because I'm hearing what David's saying, what Purity's saying around just ignorance or incapacity from faith leaders from within organized faith to engage on these issues. But then also what I'm hearing from Yaku and from the comments from Bushra and from Olivia also echoing it, a resistance from faith leaders in different ways around maybe experiencing also these faith-based interventions from organizations as threatening maybe in different ways. And I think there's maybe some more reflection that we can do at a later stage around this. I'm going to draw this event to a close. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to Olivia, to David, to Yaku, to Veronica. This was amazing. It was amazing to hear what your organizations are doing, and I've really been inspired just listening to your work and how you approach it. Thank you to everyone attending the sessions for your really insightful questions and comments in the chat box. I want to remind you on this Thursday, the 6th, we're having another session like this, but with different organizations. And then next week, Tuesday again. I sent you all the links if you want to sign up for those. But what I'll do after next Tuesday is I'll send out an email to everyone with the recording links for each of the 3 events, if you missed any of those. And then I also want to remind you, you should have received the email, but on the 26th of Feb, it's a Wednesday, 26th February, we're having our next COP-wide webinar, which is on listening, responding to childhood sexual violence in survivor-led ways, and engaging with faith and faith leaders on childhood sexual violence in survivor-led ways. So I want to encourage you to also sign up for that. And with that, I'm bringing this to a close, our first one. Thank you so much, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you very much. It was my pleasure. Happy to meet everyone.